Welcome back, everybody. We've got the game of the year for the Big Ten Championship. Ohio State versus Indiana, 1 versus 2. Top 2 teams in the country facing off. Only one can win. Only one Big Ten trophy. Only one Heisman Trophy winner. And only one top team. All will be decided through this game, and I firmly believe that. This is the first ever 1 versus 2 Big Ten Championship game, so we're witnessing history here, and I think we're in store for a great game. In this game of the year, if you're Indiana, what do you try to do going into this game?
I think you got to learn from the Ohio State Michigan game and not let Julian Sain sit in the pocket. Sain had too much time. I don't think he got touched once in the game. He had too much time just to pick apart the defense the defense. And if you're really worried about the downfield threat, the best way to get rid of that is to get the quarterback on its back as quick as possible. If you blitz the guy, he's not going to have time to chuck a 57-yard touchdown to Cardinal Tate.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said. I think some zone blitzes are going to be your friend, just to be able to get more people to the quarterback. I think you want to load the box a little bit as well. You want to be able to stop the run game, because when you can stop the run game, even though Ohio State's offense is a pass offense, when you stop the run game, it kind of stalls out the Ohio State offense's flow. You know, these coaches love to be able to run the ball. For better or worse, they love to be able to run the ball. It's just part of their schedules to run it almost every 3 downs or so. So you want to be able to stop the run, which is going to be hard to do. They have a lot of backs that are going to be fresh and explosive, and the O-line looks pretty good against Michigan. So I think, like what Alexander said, get to Julian Sain. I don't have an exact answer, and 12 other teams don't along with me, but if I had to make my best guess, for Indiana offensively, it'd be to run the ball. We sort of saw it in the Michigan game. There's vulnerability in the run game for this Ohio State defense. Now, can they do it 4 quarters straight? I don't know. I don't think they can. Nobody's been able to. I thought Michigan would be able to do it for a little longer than they did. Having -8 rush yards or whatever it was in that second half showed that it's pretty challenging to do that over 4 quarters. But yeah, run the ball. It's their strong suit. I mean, they are the let me get to the right place here. They love to run the ball. 230 yards per game, 9th most in college football. Now, Ohio State's the 4th best rush defense, but it's a lot better than going up against their the best pass defense in the game. Not saying that you have to avoid it overall. I know they have 2 great wide receivers in Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, but I'm just saying I think you need to open up the game, put in some statement in there in the run game, and I think it's a possibility. I'm not very sold that this rush defense is elite. I mean, if we're able to hold this Indiana team over 150 total rush yards, I'd say it's an elite rush defense, and I think that's very fair to say. Now, on the flip side, what do you do if you're Ohio State going into this game?
I think you do what you've been doing all year. Love the way Ryan Day called that game. The first drive was shaky, but he came out firing, and he stayed firing on all cylinders even after things went bad. And I think that's what all of Buckeye Nation has been wondering if he can do, and he proved us all and showed us that he can do that even when things go bad. So I think if you're Ohio State, you keep doing what you're doing. It's just hard to defend because you worry about our pass offense. Then you got to contain. You're gonna only have like 5 guys in the box to contain our run offense. And Bo Jackson has thrived the last 5 games or so. Yeah, basically every game has been 100 yards plus, besides against Purdue, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, last 3 games alone, he's had 339 yards and 3 touchdowns, which out of the 952 yards he has, that's a third of his rush yards in the last 3 games.
And it's been a hard fought yardages. Obviously, you'd like to see Ohio State clean up their offense line, run blocking, but Bo Jackson has earned every single yardage he's gotten. And you saw it in the Michigan game. He was making people miss, which he was not doing at the beginning of the year. I'd say Bo Jackson's peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I think if you're Ohio State's offense, I think you want to have a good game plan like you did against Michigan. I truly believe that since these teams are so close alike, I think the better coaching staff and game plan is going to be the factor. But I think for Ohio State, the thing I would say about the Michigan game is, yes, the run blocking offensive line. It's not good when Bo's getting touched 3 yards into the backfield. But besides that, I think they really need to figure out their 5-yard and in offense on red zone or just a short distance.
Well, they had it. They just had a false start. That was a great play call on third and goal.
It was. If you remember, the tight end Thurman was right out into his route, wide open in the end zone, but it was just a false start.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. It took until the third down or fourth down to pull out that play, which is understandable. You'd like to be able to punch it
But
in.
those first 2 downs set up that third play because it was the exact same formation, except that tight end curled on out.
Yeah, I think they're gonna figure it out, but I just think I think they need to be more creative. I mean, these guys know. I think they need to bring in Keenholz,
He loves Keenholz.
their backup quarterback, just because of the fact that Julian Sain's a great quarterback, but Keenholz can throw the ball, and on top of that, he's an aggressive runner, and you don't really care if he gets injured. Whereas it's concerning to have Julian Sain on the bottom of a pile sometimes. But I think that's really the 2 places they need to improve on going into this week. Other than that, I think they played well. Obviously, you can say they need to throw it to Jeremiah a little more, but that's just nitpicking.
Yeah, I mean, you guys both touched on it. Be aggressive, and they did that to start the Michigan game. And I love the fact that, one, we started out aggressively, and if we're going to fail, you might as well be aggressive because in years past, especially in that Michigan game, we failed not being aggressive. And so to start out with that statement, I think it kind of showed Buckeye Nation. I mean, when I was watching the game, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, we're going to be fine, just because if that's what Ryan Day and Brian Hartline are calling coming straight out of the gate, just wait for what's in store. And that's exactly what happened. So I love that. They got to keep that up, and I think that's exactly what you do when you start this game come Saturday. And then also don't be afraid to turn the ball over. That kind of goes with being aggressive. They did this multiple times. I mean, 4th and 5, better known as 4th and Jeremiah to us Buckeye fans. That somewhat controversial touchdown. It just showed that Ohio State was determined to win this game and that they were going to just do what they wanted, and they were going to call their best play no matter what circumstance there are, and that's exactly what you have to do in a game like this when you're going up against the second-best team in the country. Some might say is the first, but I'm looking over here at his computer, and Indiana's got a 51% chance of winning the game, which I don't know why. I mean, I am an Ohio State fan, so I'm biased in this, but I'm just saying this team's been unstoppable all season long. They're coming off a win at their rival's place, and I get it. It's in Indiana, but would have definitely thought that Ohio State would be a little bit favored in the matchup predictor, not in the spread. So yeah, for Ohio State, just be aggressive, continue to do what they've done on both sides of the ball.
On the Indiana side, I think their only chance of beating us is if they beat us at our own game. We kind of touched on it on being dominant in the rushing game, and no team's proven to do that. Michigan did it in the first half. They still weren't winning going into halftime, but I think the only way you beat this Ohio State team is if you limit their offensive possessions like Ohio State's done to other teams. And I don't know if they can do that all 4 quarters because Matt Patricia's just too good. He takes away what you have and makes you find a second option, which many teams don't know how to do that halfway through the game. So I think that's the only way Indiana beats us.
Here's the thing. So we saw in Michigan's game. Yeah, they were able to drive down the field for the first 3 possessions and kick field goals. And I have a feeling that's going to be a little bit of what this Indiana team does, just because Ohio State has the best red zone defense in the country. So either you have to figure out how to punch the ball in when you're not in the red zone, or you better bring your best stuff. But I don't think Ohio State's defense is going to break in this red zone. We've seen it over the last 2 years consistently. And like you said, Matt Patricia's done a phenomenal job with this defense. So for Indiana, it's just you got to be aggressive as well. Like you got to throw a deep ball here and there, just because you honestly might have a better chance of scoring a touchdown on that play than you would on 2nd and goal or 1st and goal against this Ohio State defense. So honestly, for both teams, it's be aggressive.
I think finishing this up, I think another point that Ohio State's really vulnerable, and I've been saying this throughout the year, is just their cornerbacks. Obviously, they're not horrible, but I do think that's one part of the defense that's a little rough. Igbinosun's been a little better, but he gets handsy. He gets defensive pass interferences often. Devin Sanchez is just young, a little inexperienced. And then Jermaine Matthews was a safety last year, switched to cornerback. So I do think the besides the rush defense, I think if you do get a guy one-on-one, I do think you need, no matter who it is, I think you need to take a shot just because I do think that we're vulnerable with one-on-one matchups with cornerbacks.
Yeah, it's for sure the best wide receiver core that this team's faced, and it'll truly show what these cornerbacks and Caleb Downs is truly made of, which I think we know what Caleb Downs is made of. It's more of the cornerbacks that are in question. Let's move into the QB battle. I think this is what most people are excited for. It's what I'm excited for. I think we all believe this, and I think a lot of the country believes this. Whoever wins this QB battle or the game will win the Heisman. And so who do you guys think wins this game QB-wise, and who do you think will win the Heisman between these two? Because I think it's a two-man race at this point.
I mean, just based off, this is non-biased, just based off the teams they've played, Julian Sainz had the better performances.
Well, before you go any further, now with Ohio State beating Michigan on the road, Ohio State has a better resume than Indiana.
By far, Indiana hasn't played anybody.
I mean, Indiana went on the road. Yeah, they beat Oregon on the road, number 3 at the time.
That was their only good opponent.
And they beat number 9 Illinois at the time. But Illinois is now unranked. So I'm going to keep it at what the team was ranked when they played them. And then Ohio State beat number 1 Texas in the very first game of the season, went to Illinois after Indiana beat them. So at this time, they were 17th. And then just recently came out of Michigan with a win against the 15th best team in the country. So the narrative around college football is that Ohio State hasn't played anybody, and Julian Sain hasn't played a great defense, but I would find that hard to back up now after this game. So continue, sorry.
Yeah, so based off who they played, Julian Sain's played the better performances. The stats, he might not be leading every stat, but I know he's leading the completion stat. And that just shows his maturity. Being a redshirt sophomore is pretty insane to have that high of completion percentage, especially with the wide receivers he's got. A lot of guys would just be chucking it deep 24/7 and just letting Carnell and Jeremiah go. But he's not. He's staying poised. He's going through progressions, and sometimes he just takes the easy dump off and moves the chains and then allows him to throw the deep ball. Also, on that side, it's not all just the wide receivers. Yes, the wide receivers create the space, but the ball to both Carnell and Jeremiah that scored touchdowns were placed perfectly. You could not place it any better. And then on the Mendoza side, he's got all the stats. He's got a lot of great stats. But like I said, they haven't played anybody. I don't even know who the best defense they would have played. Maybe Oregon, Cincinnati, Penn State, which they're not even a good defense. He just had a bad game. So we'll see. I think this is by far going to be the best team each of these guys have played. I just don't think Mendoza has the skill to go against this Ohio State defense, and not many quarterbacks do. So that's not a diss on Mendoza.
Before you go, Ethan, let's just put the stats out there. So Mendoza, 2,758 yards, 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a QBR of 88.3. And then Julian Sain, 3,065 yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 91.4 QBR. So, continue.
I think, the Buckeye in me is going to say Julian Sain, but I think these are going to turn out to be very similar stats at the end of the game. I think Sain has the upper hand just because of the adversity he's already faced this week. I don't know if people really understand how impressive, at least to me, it was how he played, considering his second pass was an interception. I think this Indiana team's going to be a little shocked just because I know both teams haven't played people that are great, but this Indiana team scores a lot of points, and that's just how the coaches have had them play. I think they're going to be a little shocked when it's halftime and they look up and they might only have 10 points on the board compared to what they're used to having in like 21. They've had multiple 50-point games and multiple high 40 games. So I think it's going to be different for this Indiana team. Like Alexander said, I think they want to play slower drives. So I think Mendoza's not going to be as aggressive as you might see in a normal game. I think Julian Sain's going to end up with a better stat line. On that same note, I think Sain's going to have to play better just for this game. Our Ohio State's offense is passing, and so I think Julian Sain's going to get better.
So I can confidently say, like he was saying, from this Michigan game, Julian Sain is in my opinion, Heisman and will win this QB battle. Quickly, the best two performances from both teams, for both players. For Mendoza, it was versus Illinois versus Michigan State. He had 267 yards, 5 touchdowns versus Illinois, and then versus Michigan State, 332 yards and 4 touchdowns versus Michigan State. But the storyline I want to highlight is the struggles he's had on the road. His stats are completely different from road to home. Now, this isn't a true road game. It's in Indiana, but it is not in Indiana or at Indiana University. So I think that plays a little bit of factor. But on the road, 61% completion, 1.4 touchdowns, 7 total touchdowns, 4 of his 5 interceptions. At home, 80% completion, 3.6 touchdowns, 25 total touchdowns, and 1 interception. For saying best 2 games were Michigan and then Penn State. We know the Michigan stat line in Penn State. Nothing too special, just 4 touchdowns. So he really touched on it. Just the way he came back in that game shows that Julian Sain has what it takes, and I think he'll put that on display here Saturday. So to close it all out, what are your guys' predictions?
I'll go to Ohio State winning by 7.
Score?
Let's go 35-28.
Okay.
I got Ohio State winning 35 to or not 35. I've got them winning 27 to 10. I think it's going to be very similar to the Michigan game. I think Indiana's going to score a touchdown early, and then I don't think they're going to be able to do much later.
So I've got 28-17 Ohio State, and I think I'm going so specific. I'm predicting Julian Sain's stat line. I've got him going for 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, 22 for 25 and 282 yards. We'll see if this stays true, but I do think Ohio State's going to win for all the reasons I have said and we have said. Nonetheless, this is going to be a great game. 1 versus 2, Big Ten championship game. Can't ask for much more. So we hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown and enjoyed this fantastic game. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.